yeah, I think you take a bet on a big fish. Because the alternative is, if you go the other way and you take a guy that's just like an Ansley Almanor who maybe contributes to winning, and then it goes the other way and those big fish are fine, and we're watching Jackson Kohler or Mark Mitchell or somebody like that in the Final Four come April, and we bounced in the Sweet 16, like everybody will fault the staff for that. Nobody will fault the staff for taking a Mark Mitchell and then he's ruled ineligible. They'll fault the NCAA. They'll say, well, Pope did it. He did what he could, but the NCAA kind of screwed us. That's my view on it, at least.
And we've talked about this privately, Spencer, but I think now is the perfect time to take that risk on a Mark Mitchell. Like, I think with how things have been trending in practice, where you feel pretty good that the vision is coming together, that like, okay, I'm starting to see what Mark Pope was dreaming and building when he assembled this cast of 14, that like there are worse things that could happen for the program, I think, if they were to add Mark Mitchell right now and he's later ruled ineligible, and you got to roll with the 14 they have. Like, the team that they have right now, we've already talked about, is pretty darn good. Like, I think that the team that they, assuming Cam gets back on the floor, Frank, there's no serious setbacks with him. Like, as at full strength, I think the team as currently constructed is one that is capable of definitely making the second weekend. Like, I think it's a Sweet 16 team with pretty real, like, ball bounces your way, and it depends on the draw and all that stuff once we get to March Madness. But like, there is a real scenario where they make it to the Elite Eight final, maybe even a Final Four run as currently constructed. I just feel so much better about those chances and raising the floor and the ceiling if it were a Jackson Kohler or Mark Mitchell or whatever the case is. Even like a Cade Tyson, like I would just feel so much better having another surefire guy with so many unknowns and wild cards and things like that. So I think now, if there was ever a time, if Mark Pope is truly confident about his team's ability to make a run, I would say go get the splash guy and say, we got nothing to lose. I'd rather have him ruled ineligible later on, in the chance that we get him for a full season. And at that point, like, I think with Mark Mitchell or Jackson Kohler, like, I think this Kentucky team is one that other national competitors would look at and go, ooh, that they got some dudes on their team. And I don't know if they view this Kentucky team as that right now.
Yeah, I think they probably view this team as talented, like definitely a lot of potential, but also certainly like kind of beatable. And like, hey, if we catch them on the night that we catch them on, then, like we can definitely beat them. You throw like a Mark Mitchell or a Jackson Kohler into it, that fight becomes a lot harder. And it definitely becomes a team that becomes a lot more imposing and can beat you in more ways even than, like, right now we don't have a guy that we can just throw the ball down to on the block and say, go get us a bucket. That's a gap that we have right now. Maybe Malachi ends up being that guy, depending on what he's put together this summer or whatever. But like, from what we've seen and what we know, like, nobody on the team right now is like, hey, 3, 4, 5 possessions in a row. Think like Karl Towns, what we did against Notre Dame in the Elite Eight, like just over and over again, we just dumped it down there. We were like, just go get us a bucket. Right. And like, we could do that with, Boogie or Patrick Patterson or different guys like that. We don't have a guy like that. So like a Mark Mitchell just totally changes. Like, it's just another huge weapon in your arsenal that you can now play this way. It's like, okay, shots aren't falling. The zoom action isn't quite working for us. We've done some other stuff and it's not working. Let's just kind of do this where we can dump it down to Mark Mitchell. He gets a few buckets. Now all of a sudden he starts to draw double teams. He's kicking it out to Cam or to Wilkins or to Milan. For now, they're getting open shots off of this. Like, we can't play that way right now, the way the roster is currently constructed. But with a guy like Mitchell, you'd be able to. So again, the more ways that you can beat people, the better your team is going to be, because there are going to be nights where some things don't work, and the more alternatives that you have to pivot to, the better. And adding an all SEC, I mean, he could be a preseason All-American candidate. I'm not saying he'd be first team or whatever, but like second or third team All-American, he could be like a trendy pick, given he's a nearly 20 point per game scorer, all SEC coming back. So yeah, 100%. And I totally agree. The point that you made earlier, I think I texted you something similar, which was like, what rocks the boat more than anything is losing. Like, if you just win, that's gonna stay pretty steady. And obviously these guys will all contribute to winning in a big way.
Yeah, and we saw the 2014-15 team is the best example of that, where it's like, there will never be a better collection of talent ever, where there were some hurt feelings. And, John Calipari looked at that and was like, how the hell am I going to navigate this and keep everybody happy and get the shots where they need? And they didn't. Like, they flat out did not have enough minutes and shots for everybody. But they were celebrating quite a bit all the way up until they weren't in Indianapolis. So if Pope is serious about turning this into one that teams look at and go, whoa, that like Florida would look at this Kentucky team with a Mark Mitchell and go, oh, damn, like that, they got some dudes. Like I think that 3-man the M&M group, I do like that there's a chance that all 3 of your front court pieces are going to be all M&Ms, but that they would look at those 3 and go, that's maybe one of the best 3-man groups. Would you say that like, are there many 5-man starting lineups better in college basketball if that is how this unfolds, where you get a Zoom Diallo, Alex Wilkins, Milan Momcilovic, Mark Mitchell, Malachi Moreno 1 through 5? Because Florida's up there, especially if Denzel Aberdeen is ruled eligible. If we're talking Mark Mitchell, then Denzel obviously would be as well. But that's a pretty formidable group.
Yeah,